Hello, Joe. I'm Poetic Heretic, and this is your October 2019 tarot forecast. So, I'll be giving you a Celtic cross forecast for the month of October for all Virgo Sun, Virgo Rising, and Virgo Moon people. And we will be able to see, in addition to the astrology, what other information we can sort of figure out about your month of October. This can really fill in some things, give us even more insight. It's very interesting to combine the astrology with a tarot reading. Also, since it is Halloween this month, I thought, why not use the Tarot of Vampires deck by Ian Daniels just for this month to give the reading a sort of spooky Halloween vibe? And so that is what we are doing. And so I'll take a little extra time than usual to sort of show each card that we get or that you get, since we're using a special deck. All right, so without further ado, we would like a Celtic cross forecast for the sign of Virgo for the month of October 2019. Let's see what we get. What will be the energy for Virgo for the month of October 2019? What insight can the universe give us for all Virgo people, sun, rising, and moon, for October of 2019? My card just kind of fell off a bit as I was shuffling. What insight can the universe give us for the sign of Virgo for the month of October 2019? There it is. All right, let's take a look. The Two of Skulls reversed. The Eight of Knives reversed. Had to double check it before I possibly read the wrong thing, reading it upside down. The Five of Grails, which I've practiced with this deck for a few months now. It's a relatively new one I got. And so I'm quite familiar with it, and it's based on the Rider-Waite, so it's pretty easy to tell what it means and all that, what the cards mean. But still, reading upside down, it's like, did I just read that correctly, or is it something else? The Emperor. The Devil reversed. Ooh, won't that be interesting? The Sun reversed. The Ten of Skulls reversed. The Five of Skulls. The Magician reversed. the final outcome card of the Four of Skulls reversed. All right, so give me a moment to take all of this in, and I will give you my insights as soon as I am done. Okay. Looks like for many of you, there is the likelihood of a lot of financial challenges this month. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you don't want to hear bad news, you can stop watching now. Otherwise, you've been warned. So you're beginning the month with the Two of Skulls reverse. This represents your current outside influences. I'll hold that up to the camera real quick so you can get a better look at it. You got it reversed, but this is what it looks like upright. Which, unfortunately, this lighting is kind of terrible for showing these cards. But this is the best we can do, I suppose. This is how you are beginning the month of October 2019. So Two of Skulls reverse, a couple of different possibilities here. It could be a warning about new beginnings, saying that this might not be a good time to try to begin something new, particularly when it comes to money, when it comes to finance. Notice that too, that second house that came up in your astrology, particularly more towards the beginning of the month. But this is saying that if you're thinking of starting a new job or something like that, it may not be the right time. Now that's going to vary on an individual basis since this is a general reading. So don't let this be your like end all be all advice when it comes to that. Just know that there's the potential tendency of that for Virgos in general right now. Two of Skulls reverse can also talk about too many ups and downs. So I forgot to mention in the previous readings for other signs, I've been mentioning what these cards correspond to for each one in the Rider Waite. This corresponds to the Two of Pentacles, just so you know, just for those who perhaps are familiar with tarot or read tarot or whatever. So Two of Skulls reverse or Two of Pentacles reverse, the potential for too many ups and downs, for things being a little too crazy. And again, especially in the financial and or material sense. Sometimes with this also being a two, it can talk about some relationship difficulties, which there might be a little bit of a potential for that here from what I'm seeing. But there's mostly like financial issues that are being sort of taken to the forefront. So that's what we have with the Two of Skulls reversed. I would say if you are considering beginning a new job or a new business or something like that, be very careful about doing that this month, especially early in the, well, actually anytime this month, because we have the Mercury retrograde as well this month. We have Mercury entering its shadow and then the retrograde at the very end of the month. However, there's also, because of the nature of the Two of Skulls or Two of Pentacles, the reversal of this card could almost be saying to you that if you are planning on starting a new business or a new job or like investing in something financially, but you're, how do I say this? You're thinking that you don't have to, or maybe you're not willing to spend money to sort of get money back, or you're not willing to take a risk. This card in its reversal would be saying that, well, if you're not willing to take a risk financially, then it's not going to work, essentially. In other words, like if you want to get a business to work, a new business, then you're going to have to spend some money. You're going to have to risk spending some money in order to get some money back. And this card in its reversal may be showing almost an unwillingness, perhaps, for some Virgo people out there to do that. And if that's you, then consider that warning wisely. But it's tricky because I think that it could also be saying just be cautious about starting anything new financially right now. So there you have it. A couple different possibilities there. Now for your challenge card, you got the Eight of Knives reversed. So I'll just show you card upright real quick. This represents your challenge for the month of October. It represents what is sort of crossing you, what is pushing you into new growth, pushing you into a direction that you need to go in. And this corresponds to the Eight of Swords in a classic tarot deck. And it focused at last. So let's attempt to unpack this card now. A couple different things come to mind for this one also. First of all, with it being an 8 and thus activating the 8th house, it's interesting that it's crossing over the Two of Skulls, because that's also the second house. Because remember from your astrology forecast video, if you watched that from me before this, the full moon this month is activating both your second and your 8th house, and both houses talk about, again, money. And so again, we have this idea of your challenge this month being tied to money. Now, the 8th house is particularly, interestingly enough, after what we just talked about, business and other people's money. So a lot of you may have challenges connected to that area. But let's also look more at this card's meaning itself, or more like into what this card typically means. So if we look at the reversal, it did come up reversed, but I guess when it's the challenge card, we should look at the upright meaning as well. At least that's how I do it. But looking at the reversal first, we have this idea with the 8 of Knives reversed of breaking free from limitations. So in a very sort of oversimplified sense, you could say your challenge this month is to break free from limitations. And again, I would say especially with the other cards that we have here, financial limitations, like finding a way to break free from that. Now, many might think, like, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, so I have financial limitations. How am I supposed to break free from that? Well, what I'm talking about basically, not to get too deep on you, but is what I would call your own personal spiritual journey through life. And I would say, remember, every challenge that you draw to you is there for a reason. Every challenge that comes to you, you have chosen at other unconscious levels of your being ahead of time for a reason. It is meant to propel you in a new direction. It is meant to make you grow. It is meant for you also to be able to overcome. So don't assume that it's insurmountable just because maybe in some cases it might seem that way at first. It is not. So that's one thing to consider. Now, when we look at this card upright, in addition to what may be an obvious connotation, we see this chained figure of imprisonment. So it's like saying, oh, your challenge is feeling imprisoned by things, and thus breaking free of them. There can also be associated with this card upright the idea of arrogance and pride. And so, not to get too in your face about it, but if you find yourself maybe feeling like that's resonating with you a bit, or if you find yourself thinking maybe you're slipping into a little too much arrogance or pride this month, then this card is a warning to attempt to figure out what's behind that and transcend that in some way, or stop doing that, I guess, to put it simply. So some interesting possibilities there as well. For the underlying energy, everything forming a foundation for your current situation and your immediate environment, you got the 5 of Grails upright. So let me just show that close up to the camera for a bit. This corresponds to the 5 of Cups in a classic tarot deck. This is for the underlying energy, that which is forming the foundation for your month, and also may represent people in your immediate environment, or just your immediate environment in general. Well, it's interesting because the 5 of Grails, or the 5 of Grails upright, I almost said reverse, but upright is one of the sort of classic lost love cards in the tarot deck. 5 of Grails, 5 of Cups. Disappointment, sadness, lost love, that sort of thing. In the Rider-Waite version, at least, it emphasizes that not all is lost in that sense. Now, while that may apply to some of you, as I mentioned earlier, like with the 2 of Skulls reversed, possibly being tied to relationships, could also apply to other challenges as well. Some disappointments, but also pointing out to you that not all is lost. However, with this being the underlying energy, like I said, it could be people in your environment that are feeling this way and that are feeling sad or disappointed or whatever. Not necessarily you personally, because this is a general reading. I suspect that it could go either way, and probably will for many of you. But there may be people around you who are feeling that way, or maybe it could even just be the idea that like disappointment is the foundation of this month, sadly, which, I hate giving bad news, but my spiritual practice is authenticity. I have to. If it's there in the cards, then I have to. So know that that's a possibility. But again, like I said, not all is lost. It's also interesting that, let me see here. Yeah, so you got a second 5 later on in the reading. So 5th house activated at least a little bit, which might be a bit of a silver lining to this otherwise very dark reading, because the 5th house is all about fun and love and romance. So maybe in the midst of these challenges this month, a lot of you are also going to find, there's a lot of fun to be had as well with those 2 5s showing up that 5th house. Now, for the past issues that you've had to deal with that then lead into the present, you got the Emperor, card 4 of the major arcana. There it is. This represents your current past, your recent past. So the main thing about the Emperor card is all about a time in our lives when we have to consult with an authority in a particular field or a particular whatever, to further our own journey. And so it looks like a lot of you out there, a lot of Virgos out there, have had to do this recently. You've had to consult some kind of authority, whether it be work related or something else, in order to further your own journey. Maybe getting like qualifications for something, getting a license for something, that sort of thing as well. However, it's interesting that, again, when we look back into the present, your first card this month is the 2 of Skulls reversed, as if to say that even though chances are this consultation with authority went well, it still may not be time to act, or it still may not all be implemented successfully, unfortunately, with that reversal. Now, that can vary from person to person with this being a general reading. I'm sure some of you will find far more success than others, and it is a good sign that at least this card was upright. If it was reversed, then we'd be far more concerned. And maybe for some of you, there's just going to be a lot of ups and downs as you proceed in this new endeavor, this new step in your life, but you'll still be able to do it successfully. Just be aware that if it doesn't seem like it's the right time, based on the cards I'm getting here, it's probably not the right time. So there you have it. And I guess I'll just mention this briefly. Other than that, the Emperor card can talk about the idea of order and structure and discipline, especially discipline and willpower, putting forth solid effort and stuff like that, asserting oneself. And so there may be a lot of you who have done a lot of sort of hard self-discipline work like that in the recent past. But for whatever reason in the present, there's still some, not quite harmonious energy, not quite conducive energy to what you're trying to create. Now, for what you hope to achieve, this is quite interesting. The Devil reversed, and this fits right in with what we've been going over already, I do believe. But here, I'll show it to you upright first. You can see what it looks like in this deck. Now, one piece of good news here, though, is that in this deck, the Tarot of Vampires, the Devil card is a far more positive card overall than it is, say, in the Rider-Waite. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. Although for the specific way in which I believe it applies to your reading, I think it would be positive, actually, regardless of whether we're using this deck or the Rider-Waite, interestingly enough. So, like I said, you got this for what you hope to achieve, but you got it reversed. So what you hope to achieve, your highest wish, your highest goal, your highest hope this month is the Devil reversed. So what I'm thinking here, the primary thing I'm thinking is that with the Devil reversed, it can very, very often talk about breaking free from limitations when we see it reversed. And what did we see earlier for your challenge card? Breaking free from limitations. And so this is pointing to more of that, saying it's your desire this month to transcend those limitations. So that's one possibility. The other main possibility, and this speaks to the more positive meaning of the Devil card in this deck, is when we see this card upright in this deck, it's actually all about the enjoyment of physical pleasures. You know, it's ruled by Capricorn, a very earthy sign. It's like the earthiest of the earth signs, one might argue, although, well, I don't know, that might be Taurus, I'm not sure, but it kind of depends on how you look at it. And then the planetary ruler being Saturn. The point is that the earth signs are all about physical pleasures and physical enjoyment. And of course, if you don't know, you, Virgo, are also an earth sign, but you have quite the element of air to your sign because you're ruled by Mercury, an air planet. So you're like an airy earth sign essentially. But anyway, it's kind of besides the point. That would have me interpreting this as, with the reversal, there's a desire for a lot of you this month to overcome some kind of blockage to your really indulging in and enjoying the physical pleasures of life, because as much as physical reality seems to be this place where we're kind of stuck here, having to face challenges that often suck, that often we don't like, and sort of forcing us to advance our growth, whether we like it or not. Like, the plus side of all of that and physical reality is that there is also a lot of physical pleasure to be enjoyed here. And so this is showing that a lot of you also may be reaching for that this month, which is good, because especially with the challenges that you have, you deserve to enjoy some physical pleasures. Yes, there's a risk of taking that too far. I mean, too much of any good thing is not good, but as long as you know where to draw the line, then that's a good thing. So the reversal of it may be reminding you to be like, hey, take some time to enjoy yourself this month. Don't always have to be working constantly or worrying constantly or whatever the case may be, which that would be another theoretical interpretation with that card, with it being ruled by Capricorn, and its reversal is saying, hey, don't need to work so hard, because Capricorns, like myself, we tend to be workaholics. Anyway, for the near future, you got the Sun reversed. So I shall show you that upright and up close for a bit. This, in its reversal, represents about the first week or two of your month. So I'm sorry to have to report this to you, but the Sun's reversal does often indicate sadness, depression, disappointments, discouragement, things not going the way that you wanted to, confusion, lack of clarity, things being sort of almost shrouded in mystery perhaps sometimes, but at least a lack of clarity would be appropriate, and just general like disappointments. So there is the risk of that in the near future. However, well, a couple of things with that. First of all, even if that is the case, the sun in its reversal is saying, try to focus yourself into the upright meanings of the card, which means if you want a sort of antidote to this, try to be more optimistic, like the sun upright talks about. Try to cultivate some inner joy and enjoying life, enjoying the moment, enjoying the present moment in life. And perhaps you can turn this energy around, and then the sun upright is a much more joyful card. And then that leads right into the other thing I was going to say, which is that some people will say that the sun card is so positive that even in its reversal, it is also positive. And so I have a bit of mixed feelings about that, but it seems like sometimes at least that can be true in my experience with it anyway. And so for some of you perhaps, or perhaps even many of you, the sun reversed in your near future may actually turn out to be a very positive thing. Not as positive as it would be upright, but still an enjoyable time. And it may even be a time of new beginnings and stuff like that. However, I have to say, with what we saw earlier on that note, saying be careful with new beginnings, the reversal of this card may also just be further emphasizing that. And we have yet another card coming up as well. I'm just now noticing that is also concerning itself with maybe this time not being the best time for new beginnings. So do keep that in mind. Beware the new beginnings this month. For your attitude or position on the situation, about halfway through the month, you got the 10 of Skulls reversed. So let me show that up close real quick. So I'll preface this by saying, fortunately, this is just how you're feeling. It's your attitude or position. It's not necessarily reflecting anything that's manifesting, but 10 of Skulls reversed, corresponding to the 10 of Pentacles reversed in a classic tarot deck, does often point to loss, ruin, total destruction, financial things not going well at all, not working out. Again, though, this is just how you're feeling. It is not necessarily anything that is literally manifesting, though there may be some intense financial challenges manifesting for many of you. But again, I would say even if they are, it's certainly not a total loss or total ruin or anything that dramatic. At least I really don't think so, not based on these specific cards. If it was, I'd be expecting to see some more heavy hitters like the Tower or the Hanged Man or perhaps Death, and we don't see any of those. For the outside force coming in, you got the 5 of Skulls. Let me hold that up to the camera real quick. This corresponds to the 5 of Pentacles in a classic tarot deck. You got it for the outside force coming in, so this isn't really likely to be about you personally, but instead something or someone that presents itself or themselves to you this month. Now, with being the 5 of Skulls, 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Pentacles, there's money problems. It can be a person who's struggling financially, and if you are as well, as unfortunately this seems to point to a lot of you having that issue, then like you. Or this could be the idea of a financial challenge in and of itself coming at you, or a challenge that maybe is not financial, but of that nature. Again, sorry to have to be sort of a downer this month, but like I said earlier, there's a lot of difficult stuff that this reading pointed to. You were warned. If you're still watching, you were warned. I'm sorry. But the interesting thing about this card in this deck is with the sort of like werewolf or whatever looming over the vampire, I tend to think of it as the idea of something very, very heavy that is hanging over us, but that is meant to be overcome, that is meant to push us into new territory, sort of like what I was talking about earlier, actually. But also remember, this is the outside force coming in. This might not even be you personally. This might be someone else who is struggling, or maybe even a whole group of people who are struggling, or a situation that comes at you that is of that kind of energy, but not necessarily you personally. So keep those things in mind. For your hopes or fears, you have the Magician reversed. I will show it upright briefly. This is another card that does not necessarily represent anything that's actually happening. It only represents what you're feeling, your hopes or fears. So first of all, in its reversal, it's also talking about be careful when it comes to new beginnings. Second of all, Magician reversed can sometimes talk about like heavy tests and challenges. We don't need to go over that. Obviously, you'd be concerned with that if this reading turns out to be even half accurate for you. But more specifically, the Magician card is all about taking reality as it is and recreating it as you see fit. And this showing up in your hopes or fears, and reverse is like saying that you're afraid that you might not have the wherewithal to do that. You might not have the skills and abilities that this card also talks about to be able to do that. The Magician upright is someone who is very skillful, who has the abilities, the qualifications, the dexterity, the mental sophistication to be able to recreate things as he sees fit. Reversed, not so much. And so you may fear that you don't have the skills and abilities to overcome your challenges. Well, this card would be saying to you, try to be more like the Magician upright. Try to use your skills and abilities, call upon your skills and abilities. Use your intellect as well, that this card is all about, ruled by your planetary ruler, Virgo, of Mercury. In other words, this card is also ruled by Mercury, if what I just said wasn't clear. Use your mind, use your skills and abilities to overcome the challenges that you face. That is what this card is trying to tell you. So for your final outcome card, how you are concluding the month of October, you got the Four of Skulls reversed. So I will show that upright briefly. And not really a terrible card to end the month on, to end such a challenging month on. Now, we would like it better if it was upright, like we're showing it here. But it's still not too bad in its reversal, at least not necessarily. It corresponds to the Four of Pentacles in a classic tarot deck. So basically, Four of Skulls reverse is saying feeling insecure about your money, feeling like money itself is not necessarily so secure for you this month. It may also be feelings of insecurity around the home. And you did get as well in this reading one other four, and that was the Emperor. And so that fourth house of home and family and immediate environment is activated. And so there may be some concerns around the home as well. But, it could even be that in a positive sense, some of you, maybe even many of you, I don't know, but this month, as a result of these challenges, have found a way to let go. Because sometimes the Four of Skulls or Four of Pentacles upright can be too much rigidity when it comes to money. And the reversal can be like, oh, now you're able to let go of that rigidity and maybe you're able to trust a little bit more. I hope that's what it is for many of you. I can't guarantee that. For many of you, it could be a lot of concerns surrounding, if not financial security, then just security in general, especially with it being a 4 and being reversed. So sorry to have to report some rather bad news overall in this reading, but remember, we're here to go through challenges. We're here to be pushed into new growth, and ultimately it's all for our benefit, even if it was our destiny to not overcome it at all in this lifetime. The experience is still what matters. The experience itself and what happens within you itself is valuable no matter what. So just out of curiosity, I'm going to draw an 11th card for you real quick, see if I can get any more information. Well, it's the Four of Scepters, a card that talks about great harmony. So maybe there is still some hope, as I was saying. So I think we'll take that as a sign that there could still be some hope. This corresponds to the Four of Wands in a classic tarot deck. So anyway, that's it, Virgo. I hope that despite these challenges here, that you have a magnificent month anyway. You did get those 2 5s as if to say, hey, you can have a little bit of fun this month, even if you're worried about things or whatever. If you enjoyed this forecast, then feel free to subscribe, as I do plan to be back soon with more astrology and tarot related videos, astrology and tarot forecasts. And in the meantime, again, I hope you have a great October despite some of the issues here. Happy Halloween. Allow yourself, as the Devil card suggested to you, to let loose a bit, have fun, enjoy yourself. You deserve it. And I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.